Welcome back, legends, to another video. This is video number 2. If you haven't seen number 1, do go check that out. It was released about 4 or 5 hours ago. We do have another video coming after this talking about the Twitter controversy. I actually had that scheduled already, but today I wanted to add this video in as a third video for today. We're going to be just covering some games that have come out, some news and their successes. It's worth talking about them, because we've been talking about Sony and their demise for quite a bit. We've been talking about how well Xbox is doing, but there are lots of other things going on around us, and it's worth celebrating those. So the first one that comes along, and I know this has been a very controversial topic, especially among the console wars, with Cyberpunk 2077 being compared to Starfield. I really don't understand why. There's a lot of copium there. They are different games in my eyes. They do things differently. They may follow the same genre, but they are different games in their own right. But Cyberpunk 2077 has sold over 25 million copies. That is in itself an astonishing feat, right? Now, keep in mind that from the release date to today, that is faster than Witcher 3, which is arguably one of the best RPGs in the world, right? For good measure, when CD Projekt Red make an RPG sandbox, they do it well. They are up there with the greats like Bethesda. So if they are making a game, you turn your head. And let's be fair, when Cyberpunk 2077 released back when it first launched 3 years ago, it's not that it was a bad game. The game itself was fundamentally good. It was the core that was broken. The game itself was just physically broken. It needed a long time, a lot more work to actually get right. And though they tried to patch it here, patch it there, it just was band-aids on what was to come. But credit to CD Projekt Red, they stuck with the game. They have gone in and created what is now known as Cyberpunk 2.0. Where have we heard this before? Final Fantasy XIV. When Final Fantasy XIV first launched, it was a colossal mess. Well, I actually enjoyed it by 1.23. I think it was in a good place, but that's me coming from Final Fantasy XI. But Final Fantasy XIV, for all it was doing, decided that it was going to shut it down because the core engine around what the game was built was just flawed. So they went back, shut the servers down, rebuilt what they needed to rebuild, redesigned the entire game, and then brought it back as a Realm Reborn Final Fantasy XIV 2.0. So as you can see here, there is like a history with this naming convention, and Cyberpunk 2077 2.0 has launched to an overwhelming success. It's made a lot of changes, from the RPG mechanics to the overall world mechanics. Just everything has changed, whether it's a big change or a nuanced change. It's been a good, positive change. Add to that, they've released their new DLC, Phantom Liberty, which already within its first week has sold over 3 million units. Now, with this 25 million units sold, we don't know the market share between PC, Xbox and PlayStation. We do know that with Phantom Liberty, 68% are from PC, which includes Steam and GOG, which is pretty damn amazing, and the remainder is split between PlayStation and Xbox. And for those of you wondering, clearly PlayStation took all of it, it's actually not that bad. I think PlayStation took like 5 million copies, and Xbox took 3.5 million, and considering the different disparity between the console sales, that's really, really damn good, right? But of course, people have this game on the Xbox One as well, so there is that too. So do keep that in mind, just like they do with the PS4. But all that aside, Phantom Liberty has got 3 million units already sold. The base game has now sold over 25 million, outselling in the same time frame Witcher 3, which in itself is a monumental achievement. The game is doing exponentially well, and for those of you interested in the game, I highly recommend you go check it out. It is a solid game. Once I finish Starfield, or at least slow down with Starfield, because I don't see myself finishing the base game anytime soon, as I'm planning on doing almost everything before I finish, well, I'm going to be venturing off into Cyberpunk and returning to that on PC and seeing how it is. It also works on GeForce Now, for those of you that have GeForce Now. So even if your rig isn't powerful enough, you can just play it through the cloud if you've got a fast enough internet, and it works just great, because that is probably how I'm going to play it, because it runs a 4080. Now, there is a bit of other news as well with Cyberpunk, and that is, of course, live action project is coming along. We don't know much about it, but clearly the success has done it wonders, and a live action project is in the works, and a possible second animation is in the works after the success of Edge Runners. So for those of you that enjoyed Edge Runners, this is also good news. Now, Diablo 4 is coming to Steam. Now, this is actually big news. It is, the second game to make the jump from the Blizzard launcher over to Steam. We had Overwatch and now Diablo 4. But why is this so important? Why is this such big news? What makes this so special? Well, as we know, ABK is moving over and merging with Xbox, at least with the merger going through next week. Hopefully, that will officially be finalized. Now, is this a kind of positive sign to the deal going through? And if it is, that is great, because it just puts that emphasis on more of those games coming over to Steam, because they will become Xbox first party. But this also means that if that is the case, we could potentially be seeing Diablo 4 as the next game on Game Pass. Now, why is that important? Well, as we know, after the base game of Diablo 4, Season 1 was a colossal failure. It made a lot of mistakes, it nerfed everything, and pretty much most of the players jumped ship. Now, I know there's talks about it having 7 million concurrent players. That is bogus, it is not proven, it is fabricated information, it is fake news. So, I don't know where that figure came from, but it is fake news. But, as we've seen with Starfield, with over 10 million players, the Game Pass effect can help bolster Diablo 4 back to where it needs to be. And this is a really good opportunity with Season 2 on the horizon, with all the positive changes, for it to actually do this. So, good stuff, and I hope it actually succeeds. And, if it does come to Game Pass, and if this is a sign that the deal has pretty much gone through, which we all expect, then even better. The only problem is, it's going to be review bomb to hell, right? We've seen what happened to Overwatch. I expect Diablo 4 to be no different. Now, the big controversy is with Forza Motorsport. Now, if you've seen Destin's imagery, they were pretty blurry, bland, washed out, and it turns out that there was a bug that led to this. But the problem is, should IGN have known about this? Turn 10 have come out and confirmed it is a bug, and that they are applying a fix. It will probably be released on the 10th of October when the game officially comes out with the day one patch. So for the majority of players who are actually going to play it and should actually be expecting that version, you probably won't notice anything. This also then brings a question: should early access be used for reviewing, especially in the buggy state? That's a question or a video for another day. But of course, Destin came out after noticing what he did, and he made a lengthy post apologizing. Now, I actually believe Destin did make a genuine mistake. He's been fair for the most part, especially with his ABK coverage and his love for Game Pass. I actually take what he said was fair. I don't think there was any cynicism there. I don't think there was any bias there. But of course, with the way IGN has acted, especially with Starfield, with the way they've been treating Xbox by having their games, with having third-party games showcased on their news round and constantly omitting Xbox, constantly looking down on Xbox, acting like it doesn't exist, it's clear that those that are out there with the console wars is going to find this a direct attack on Xbox. And I can see why. IGN has probably one of the worst track records with anything come Xbox. And it wouldn't surprise me if this was deliberately done and it was basically forced upon Destin. But I want to take him on face value, and I'd want to believe him. It was a mistake. There are footage out there by Colt Eastwood and others where the game looks absolutely stunning. It looks amazing. Now, as for the actual review score, getting 85 out of 100, again, that's another thing, a video I'm going to be covering later, because there is a lot of, talking points there that I want to cover. But in my opinion, on this occasion, it was an innocent mistake. And Digital Foundry did come in and say that, they did notice the gamma issues that were there. And, they did raise it as well to Turn 10. Turn 10 provided them with ways on how to fix it. It didn't really help, so the bug is still there and it is currently in game. Restarting your console does help a little bit. However, The problem now is that IGN have burnt so many bridges that even if it is an innocent mistake like this one is now, it seems to always happen to Xbox. It seems to always be for an Xbox game, or an Xbox brand, or an Xbox hardware, or an Xbox software. These mistakes always seem to be happening to Xbox. It happens to no one else. And at the end of the day, I don't blame the community for actually turning around and saying, we don't believe you, because you can only cry wolf so many times. Right, to end the video, I want to briefly talk about Red Dead Redemption, because when it got announced, the remaster, you know, a lot of Xbox fans were saying, we've got the backwards compatible, it's the same thing, why would I want to buy that? And for good measure, if you've got the backwards compatible version that can run at 4K, like the Xbox version can, then there's really no reason for you to go out and buy the remastered, you know, Red Dead Redemption. And that's probably one of the reasons why the game doesn't exist on Xbox. And that's okay, because we've got the 360 version, which gets upscaled, and then with the 4K update, and it's basically the same thing. However, recently, just the other day, a 60 FPS patch was leaked onto the patch notes for the remaster, which means now, unlike the Xbox version, which runs at 30 FPS, the PlayStation version will run at a stable, locked, solid 60 FPS. Now, this obviously changes things, and it changes things drastically. For those of you that are 60 FPS or out, unless it's forced 30, like we had with Red Dead Redemption being an older game, that's like an exception. And for certain games like Starfield, 30 FPS, with the work that ID actually did on there with the double frame generation, is insane. You really don't notice the 30 FPS. I'm serious. As someone that is very sensitive to 30 FPS frame stuttering, because I really do am sensitive to it, on Xbox I don't notice it at all. On xCloud, which runs off the Xbox Series X version, I just don't notice it. But here, whether you notice it or not, a 60 FPS version is available that's not going to be available on Xbox. So my question to you all is, should Xbox get the remaster release, or at least a patch? Now, my personal opinion is that they should patch it, but is a patch possible even? That's the question. I don't know. Considering it's old code, I don't know what they've done to the new one to actually get it to work, you know, for the remaster. For all we know, it could be exactly the same game, and they've just given it the 4K treatment and up the res as they did with the, you know, backwards compatibility version of Xbox. But if there was any other work done to it, it could require a full release. So would you be interested in buying Red Dead Redemption again for, say, $39.99 if they did release the remaster on Xbox? If they can't release a patch. Ideally, hopefully, they can release a patch and then both versions can be on the same level. After all, with Xbox Boost, you can see older games hitting that 120 FPS standard. So I can't imagine why they couldn't do it, but at the end of the day, it's Rockstar. But that's it. That's the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion. I'll see you in the next one. Main Legend.